Today, we're going to talk about why you should fire your benefits broker. And I want to get the awkward part out of the way right at the top. I'm a broker. I'm an employee benefits advisor at DSP Insurance Services. And I'm about to spend the next 15 or so minutes walking you through exactly how people like me get paid and how that pay structure sometimes can work against you. It's a strange video for me to be making if you think about it. But if you know me, you know I like to buck the trend, literally. I'm also a bit allergic to the status quo, and I've been fighting for transparency in our industry for more than a decade. This video is part one of three. Today is why. The next video is when. The red flags and the trigger events that tell you it's actually time. And the third video is how. The real mechanics of making a change without losing ground. So here's what we're going to cover today. How your broker actually gets paid, both the part you can see and the parts that you can't. Why your broker's check goes up when your renewal goes up. Number three, why moving you to self-funding can generally cost your broker money. Number four, what the law says they've got to tell you now. How to go look up the number yourself for free in about 10 minutes, and what 4 points of trend actually costs you over 5 years. So let's jump into it without any further ado. So how does a benefits broker actually get paid? There's two buckets, and you need to understand both of them. The first bucket is direct compensation. That's the commission or the fee that comes off your plan specifically. If you're fully insured, it's almost always a percentage of your premium, and it's bundled right into your rate. You never write a separate check for it. It's right there in the premium. So most employers I talk to have no idea how much they're actually paying their broker in commissions. Your broker's not free. You just don't see the line item. So what does that look like in actual dollars for most employers? There's a study out of Johns Hopkins on this, published in Medical Care Research and Review. And they went and polled Form 5500 filings on almost 30,000 fully insured health plans, covered about 11 million employees. The median broker commission came out to $178 per enrolled person per year, about $15 a month. If you run that against your own head count, I'd be very curious to see how it comes back. 250 enrolled employees at $178 is about $44,000 a year. For 500 people, up around $90,000. But remember, that's a median. So at least half those plans are paying more than that, and half are probably paying less. But the finding from that same study that I really want you to sit with for a moment, because they went and they measured that exact same thing, and I'm about to spend the next 10 minutes on it. Commissions rise with premiums. They put it at about $30 more in commission for every $1,000 more in premium. And the effect was strongest on the smallest plans. I'll be fair about what that study is and what it isn't. It's a correlation, and it's built on 2017 filings, so it's got some age on it. It does not prove that your broker actually caused your premium to go up. What it shows is that the two move together, which is exactly what you'd expect when someone's paid on a percentage of your premium. If you want something more current, Kaiser Family Foundation publishes broker compensation pulled out of carrier medical loss ratio filings. For 2024, broker fees ran about $10 per member per month in the large group market, and just under $30 in small group. That's fully insured only, though, and it might be limited on a statutory basis. The minute a plan self-funds, that reporting goes out the window. Hold on to that, because I'll circle back to that in a minute as well. The second bucket is indirect compensation. This is the one that nobody explains. Indirect comp is the money the carrier pays your broker's agency that isn't tied directly to your policy. Overrides for total book volume, growth bonuses for writing new business, persistency bonuses, contingent compensation, sometimes trips, sometimes conferences, sponsorships, sometimes marketing dollars. So how big does that get? ProPublica did some reporting on this back in 2019, and I'm going to date stamp that hard because it was before the new Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2021 disclosure laws took effect. But what ProPublica documented was real, and the carriers published a lot of it themselves. Medical-based commissions running 3 to 6% of annual premium. It's still similar today. And then bonus programs stacked on top with actual published caps. Health Net in California, up to $150,000 of a bonus on a single employer group. Pretty significant size groups. Emblem Health in New York, up to $100,000 per group. And their own materials said that there was no limit to the number of bonuses one could earn. Blue Cross Blue Shield in North Carolina had $110,000 on groups over 1,000 members. In one Blue Cross Blue Shield parent, Healthcare Service Corporation spent $816 million on broker bonuses and commissions in a single year. For those of you with me here in Illinois, this is relevant. Again, that was back in 2019. I don't see behind the curtain on all incentive programs, but I've seen enough to tell you that they can compete directly against the spirit of independent, trusted advice. I've also seen carrier commission changes recently that went the opposite direction of what I would have expected given the current marketplace and current health trends that we're seeing. I want you to sit with the word persistency for a second. Persistency compensation means a carrier pays your broker's agency more money when clients stay put. Not when they do better, not when they have better loss ratios, just when they stay. There's literally a line item in this industry that pays your advisor for you not to change carriers. I'm not telling you every broker collecting an override is doing you wrong. Plenty of good advisors work inside that comp structure and still do right by their clients. And I'd put my own firm in that group, or I wouldn't be standing here telling you this. But what I'm telling you is that you can't evaluate the advice until you can see the incentive. And right now, most of you can't see it. So here's the part that should actually bother you. And it's not a study, it's just basic math. If your broker is paid on a percentage of premium, then when your premium goes up, their check goes up automatically. Nobody has to do anything. Think about it for a moment. Say you're a 250 life group and your fully insured premium's $2 million a year, and your broker is on a 5% commission. That's $100,000. Now your carrier comes back with a 10% renewal increase. Your premium's now $2.2 million, and your broker's check is now $110,000. You just got a $200,000 problem. Your advisor just got a $10,000 raise for the same work, actually for less work, because accepting a renewal takes a lot less effort than changing carriers and going through everything that entails. Now, do I think most brokers are consciously sitting there rooting for your rates to go up? No, I really don't. But you don't need conscious bad intent for an incentive to work against somebody. You just need the reverse incentive, the wrong incentive to exist year after year. That's how compensation works for all of us, mine included. Let's take it one step further because this is the one that actually costs mid-market employers the most money. Let's say you're fully insured, but you should actually be self-funded. Your claims are good, your population's stable, you've got the cash flow to support it. Moving you to a self-funded arrangement is clearly the right call. Let's watch what happens to the broker's compensation when you do that. On a fully insured plan, again, commissions calculated on the whole premium, and that premium includes the carrier's claims fund, their risk charge, their retention, all of it. On a self-funded plan, the premium base basically collapses. Now you've got stop loss premium and administrative fees, and the claims fund isn't premium anymore. It's your money sitting in your account. So the broker who moves you from fully insured to self-funded and does it right and saves you real money sometimes takes a pay cut for it. Unless they proactively negotiate their own compensation with you and have that conversation out loud, It's an uncomfortable conversation that a lot of people in my industry would rather just not have, to be honest. And that's a structural problem and an education problem. It's not that your broker is a bad person. It's that the honest recommendation and the profitable recommendation point in opposite directions. And only one of those two things has a number attached to it that shows up in their paycheck. This is exactly why you see the same three carriers on your shortlist spreadsheet every single year. It's not a conspiracy, it's just the path of least resistance. The familiar carriers have faster paperwork, quicker turnarounds, and compensation that rewards volume for your brokers. Regional carriers, group captives, reference-based pricing vendors, level-funded structures, ICRA, they all take real work to model and real work to administer. And guess what? Even some of those vendors are still going to pay your brokers additional compensation and incentives to place business with them. But that doesn't mean they're always going to get quoted. And that option that may have saved you the most might not show up on the spreadsheet. So what does the law say about all of this? Because this changed and a lot of employers don't know it changed. Under the Consolidated Appropriations Act, brokers and consultants working with ERISA-covered group health plans are treated as covered service providers under ERISA Section 408(b)(2). If they reasonably expect to receive $1,000 or more in direct or indirect compensation, they've got to disclose it to you in writing. And the timing matters. It's supposed to come to you reasonably in advance of the contract being entered into, renewed, or extended. So prior to your renewal effective date. Your expected compensation from your broker, from their service providers, should be disclosed as part of the renewal summary and package. If it's not, how are you supposed to make a good fiduciary decision regarding that information related to that renewal, which is what the law is asking you to do and document as part of this process? This applies to any contract that you extend, execute, or renew since December 27th, 2021. So if you've had a single renewal since then and you have, this applies to you. Is anybody actually enforcing this? Honestly, not very hard. The Department of Labor put out a field assistance bulletin at the end of 2021 saying they'd take a good faith, reasonable interpretation approach to it. And they said they didn't expect to write regulations on it. So there's no filing, there's no penalty schedule. Nobody's showing up to audit your broker's disclosure. What there is prohibited transaction exposure. If that disclosure never happened, the contract isn't reasonable under 408(b)(2, and an unreasonable contract with a party in interest is a prohibited transaction. That's the legal hook, and it's a real one. And that's the other thing, which is newer. And I think it's the part people in my industry are actually paying attention to. The plaintiff's bar. In December 2025, 4 ERISA class actions got filed on the same day. And for the first time, the brokers and the consultants are named as defendants right alongside the employers. LabCorp, Community Health Systems, United Airlines, and Allied Universal. The claims are about voluntary benefits, the employee paid products. And the allegation is that commissions running somewhere between 22 and 40% of premium was wildly excessive. In the LabCorp case specifically, the allegation is more than $14 million over 6 years, averaging right around 29%. The complaint puts that next to the same consulting firm allegedly taking 5% or less from Home Depot and 2.6% at Broadcom. Same firm, very different commission rates. Now, those are allegations. Nobody's proven anything, and I want to be really clear about that. And I'll be honest with you about the track record here too, because the two big health plan cases everybody was talking about, the Johnson & Johnson case and the Wells Fargo case, both got dismissed on standing twice each. The courts basically said the employees couldn't trace their own harm back to the alleged overpayment. So don't let anybody tell you employers are out there losing these cases right now. They aren't, not yet at least. What's actually happening is that the plaintiff's bar is testing a theory, and the theory is that a broker who screens which carrier bids you get to see is functioning as a fiduciary. That's the argument. If that ever lands, it changes the entire industry. Now, here's the part that I think most employers miss, and it's the part that should get your attention if you're a CFO, you're the person who signs off on your plan. The law doesn't cap what a broker can earn. It doesn't say a number is too high. What it does is it puts the responsibility on you to decide whether the compensation is reasonable for the services that you're actually receiving. That's your fiduciary duty, not your broker's. It's yours. And you cannot make a reasonableness determination on a number that you've never seen. If you've never received that broker compensation disclosure, you're not just missing a document. You're sitting on an unmet fiduciary obligation, and you're the one holding on to it. Let's say you don't want to have that conversation with your broker yet. Fine. You can go find a lot of this out on your own today for free. Your Form 5500 filing is public. If you're filing a Schedule A, which you are for your insured products, that schedule reports the carrier's information along with commissions and fees paid to your agents and brokers on your plan. You can pull your own filing on the Department of Labor's eFast2 search website. Takes about 2 minutes. And I'll give you the slightly mischievous version of that tip too. It's not just your filing that's public. Every other employer's filing is public too. So if you want to know whether what you're paying is in the neighborhood of normal, you can go pull a few filings from companies about your size in your area and take a look at what they're paying. Or you can consult benefitsblake.com and look through some of the benchmark information that's assembled there, or reach out to me as I've pulled this information down across all 50 states over the last 7 years. Nobody in my industry loves that I just told you that all that information is readily available to you, but it is. So 2 things to know before you go do it. Schedule A compensation is usually a plan you're behind. So you're looking at history. You're not looking at present. It's not going to capture every dollar of indirect compensation paid up at the agency level because that money's often not allocated to your specific plan. So treat it as the floor of compensation, not the ceiling. So let's try to put a number on why any of this matters, because I don't want you to think that this is just a philosophy video. Say you're spending $5 million a year on your health plan, and the difference between an advisor who's actually working your plan and one who's coasting is 3 points a trend. Let's call it 4 points a trend. It's 9% a year instead of 5. And 9 isn't a number I invented. PwC is projecting group medical cost trend at 9% for 2027. It's the highest number they've published in 17 years. So 9 is roughly what happens if nobody does anything. 5 is what happens when somebody works it. Run that out for 5 years. At 9%, you're spending about $7.7 million in year 5. At 5%, you're spending about $6.4 million. So $1.3 million difference in that year alone. But that 5-year number isn't the real number. Add up all 5 years. The 9% path costs you about $32.6 million compared to the 5% path at $29 million. It's $3.6 million is a differential on your current $5 million spend from having a reactive, semi-absent broker compared to someone that's engaged in working the system for you. That's the cost of a coasting advisor. And notice, I didn't have to accuse anybody of anything to get to that number. Nobody stole from you. Nobody committed fraud. Somebody just didn't do the extra work and the compounding doing the rest. $3.6 million buys a lot of things. It's a new facility. It's a hiring plan. It's your bonus pool. Instead, it went out the door a few points at a time. So what do you actually do with all of this? Number 1, request your compensation statement under 408B2 from your broker. You want named dollar figures, direct and indirect compensation, not a range, not commissions vary. If you've never gotten this document, ask for the last 3 years while you're at it. Number 2, Go pull down your own 5500 and take a look at your Schedule A. 2 minutes to pull it, 5 minutes to look through the Schedule A. Do it before your next renewal meeting. And then just watch how your requests get handled. It's really the whole test. A broker who's confident in the value they deliver is going to send you the number the same week. And honestly, a good one will walk you through it and tell you what they think they're worth and why. Somebody who stalls or gets defensive or sends you a summary instead of figures or explains why this is more complicated than you understand has told you something. They either don't understand the data, don't understand the disclosure requirement, or don't want to share it with you. I'll say the same thing I'd say if you were sitting across the table from me. You're allowed to know what you're paying. You're required to know what you're paying. And if asking feels rude, ask yourself why a professional relationship you're funding has you worried about feeling rude. The next video in this series is when. We're going to get into the specific red flags and the trigger events and the things that tell you this isn't a rough year, this is a pattern. After that, we'll do the how, which is the actual broker of record process and how to do it without losing ground. For more content like this, subscribe on YouTube or check us out at benefitsblake.com.